you're someone who likes sniper based builds, if you're someone who likes las guns, or the Helbore specifically, and if you're someone who likes the Krieg aesthetic, then this video is for you. The Helbore is a weapon that requires a little bit of time and practice and does require headshots to perform at its potential. But once you get used to it and give it some time and a little bit of TLC, some tender love and care, it's an extremely fun and competitive weapon for HAVOC 40. I hope you enjoy the video. Alrighty, so now I'm going to be showing you everything from a HAVOC 40 modded Psychanium. What does this change? All the enemies have HAVOC 40 HP bars, which is plus 50% HP. So just know if you're using this build, it will only perform better in anything below. Now the next part is, how can I prove it's a HAVOC 40 Psychanium? That's fairly easy. A Auric Crusher has 6500 HP. I'll show you very quickly that this Crusher has more than 6500 HP. 1400. Let's make that 3000. Let's make that 5000. Let's make that 7000. Let's make that 8400. But anyway, as you can see, it's got closer to around 10,000 HP. It has 9,750 HP. It most definitely has more than 6,500, which is what I'm trying to show you. Everything that I'm about to show you will work in HAVOC 40 and below. Now, why would I want to use the Helbore? If you're someone that likes gunplay, if you like sniper focused builds, and if you like killing heretics with some swagger, people will definitely remember a strong Helbore user. But just to show you what this weapon is capable of, it will one-shot practically everything except for maulers, mutants, bulwarks, crushers, and plasma gunners. It will two-shot bulwarks, it will two-shot plasma gunners, it will two-shot mutants, it will three-shot maulers, and it will four-shot crushers consistently, assuming you're critting and hitting headshots. That's the requirement. This is a gun that requires some finesse and some skill, but spend some time on it. If you have access to mods, get the weapon customization mod, do whatever you want, I don't care. If you're wanting for a vanilla experience, the ADS has been improved, but specifically on the legacy of Vrak's skin. So the deathkorpsofkrieg specific skin, you'll notice I have a box. This is vanilla. This is not something I added through mods. This is the best skin for the Helbore. Yes, it's pay to win. Sorry, but I thought I should let you know. Because as you can see, when I changed to the Vestroyan, all the old reliable snow-based skin, they don't have this box, and in my opinion, it really does help. Anyway, to show you those breakpoints, watch this. Scab Rages, dead. Rages, dead. Shotgunners, obviously dead. Flamers, dead. So again, you'll have to two-shot mutants, and it is hard to hit the head, but it is possible. I didn't get a crit, but just to show you, I'm not taking the piss here. Like I said, it's difficult. You do two-shot them in the head, otherwise, if you're not hitting headshots and crits with this weapon, you'll notice the damage does fall off. Where you can replace it is the bayonet is pretty fucking good into these things. You can four-shot it if you have serrated blade, or if you have agile engagement, or some other type of melee boost. Or you can just tap it for the armor bane once as it's coming in, and boom, 3 shots. But anyway, going on to the Reaper. If you crit, it's a one-shot. Gunners, one shot, as long as you're critting and hitting the headshots. Now on the Helbore, if you attack right after your fully charged attack, you'll miss the 2-shot breakpoint, so make sure you don't. So even with 15 stacks of marksman focus, if you don't crit on the second attack because you didn't ADS long enough for surgical, or you didn't charge long enough, you'll survive on a sliver of health. So it's just important when you're fighting bulwarks, make sure you get the one long charge attack, then make sure you stay in surgical for a little bit to guarantee a crit, or charge your attack for a little bit longer. But you can see, because I stayed in surgical longer, I got the crit. Now it's a 2-shot breakpoint. Same thing if I just charge for a little bit longer. just like that. Now again, on crushers, it's going to be a 4-shot breakpoint. You will need all your crits, so make sure you're getting your crits. But as you can see, nice 4 shots. On the plasma gunner, it has 1800 HP in auric. Now watch how much damage I do to the mauler. You'll notice I do 1853. I can't spawn the plasma gunner because my creature spawn is bugged at the moment. But in auric, you will hit that 1-shot breakpoint on the head. In HAVOC 40, it will require 2 shots. Simple as that. But as you can see, there are so many enemies that we can just 1-shot. It's very satisfying. It's very fun. You have a lot of control of all the specials and elites. That's just me not getting a crit there, guys. So again, let me just prove I get the 1-shot. But again, if you're not getting those 1-shots on pretty much anything but the carapace big stuff, it's because you didn't get a crit. Simple as that. Very fun, very skill expressive. Let's go into the build itself. Now, carapace and unyielding, you do not need flak, unarmored, or maniac on this weapon in replacement of unyielding. If you remove unyielding, you will not 1-shot reapers anymore. And if you change to maniac, it doesn't change it from a 2-shot to a 1-shot breakpoint. There is no meaningful reason to not go carapace and unyielding on this weapon, because as you just saw, it hits all the important 1-2-shot breakpoints, and there's not much else we can do to change that. Armor Bane and surgical. Armor Bane is important to hit the 3- and 4-shot breakpoints on crushers, otherwise it changes to a 4- and 5-shot breakpoint. Armor Bane also applies for the team. I have thought about changing Armor Bane for weight of fire, but then there's like an anti-synergy between weight of fire and surgical, but then you can make up for that less time you're in surgical with reciprocity. Play around with it. If you're happy to play with that and have a high TTK on armor waves, go for it. But with the amount of armor, especially in HAVOC 40, Rodden and blue stims being a carapace override, so when you see something blue stim in HAVOC, even if it looks like a Dreg Rager, it's actually a carapace Rager. That's where Armor Bane and carapace is going to get the most value. Surgical to guarantee those crits with marksman focus to hit those juicy breakpoints. I'll show the melee weapons later because this is a Helbore sniper focus video. I also want to mention I have 3 deathkorpsofkrieg builds coming out. This is the Helbore sniper krieg build. I'll have a generalist infantryman krieg build coming, which is more of a mid-range, up close and personal, less snipery, but still uses the Helbore. And then I'll have a grenade focused Helbore krieg video. But anyway, onto the talent tree, you have 4 points left over. Because the point of this weapon is to be killing your elites and specialists, I recommend confirmed kill over out for blood, whereas something like the plasma can kill like 50 groaners at a time and get like 500% of your toughness replenishment in one attack, or 250%, whatever the fuck. Confirmed kill is just better suited for the Helbore. Now, because you have 4 tech points, you can absolutely go both, and I do in my personal build, but I'll explain this more in depth later. As you saw, we do not need longshot for any meaningful breakpoint in this build. Covering fire has value, but only a little bit. The problem with covering fire is, again, I'm going to be typically dealing with the ranged enemies, which are far in the distance, not within distance of 8 meters of allies. And at that point, if I'm shooting the same target as my ally, there's a potential that I'm ruining his toughness replenishment. Ultimately, I find I have to be inefficient with my ammo to make covering fire efficient. Whereas I can just take one motion when I get grabbed by a mutant, trapped, randomly staggered. When I need to swap back to my Helbore after I use my melee or after using a grenade, the Helbore, pretty much more than any other range weapon, is going to get benefit from one motion. You will definitely notice it. But again, longshot doesn't contribute to any meaningful breakpoint, no reason to go for it. We just don't need more damage, simple as that. Now, if you're going for the bigger Helbore, I recommend 3A in this build. Maybe longshot has value there, but I just don't like the heavy Helbore. It's too slow, it's got a shit bayonet, and this build is what I'm recommending. Finish it off with close order drills here, keep it nice and simple. Thematically, any of these grenades work. A Kriegsman infantryman has 2 shredder grenades, or 2 frag grenades I should say, sorry, and 2 smoke grenades. Crack grenades are typically reserved for your engineer squads, which are like, you know, a step above your special forces, I guess you would call it, for the non-40k nerds. but thematically, any grenade works. Because you don't have to just be a Krieg infantryman, you know, thematically your build could be a Krieg officer, Krieg infantryman, Krieg engineer, whatever. Now, if you're picking something like the power sword, you'll probably get better effect from shredder grenades because the power sword's already competent into single target. So you'll find you'll need a little bit more space, quickly get rid of the trash so you can focus the elites. On something like the shovel, you may need more single target damage, so you may prefer cracks. Or you just may struggle into shooters, and you might like the defensive style aspect of it. Chuck a smoke on yourself, take grenade tinkerer for the next 30 seconds. You're an invisible sniper taking out all the range gunners. It's pretty cool. But yes, thematically, all grenades are a good choice. From a gameplay aspect, all grenades are a good choice. Figure out what works for you when you choose your specific melee weapon that I'll go more in depth later. Again, to keep it nice and simple, and again, this is a sniper specific build, so I'm optimizing points for the range weapon. Superiority complex, iron will, field improv, catch a breath, keep it simple. Survivalist, it's a range focused build. Pretty simple, need I say more? Ammo economy. Superiority complex is important for breakpoints. I just want to touch base on that because I'll show you something later on. Need I say more about toughness damage reduction? There is an argument for exhilarating takedown because, you know, you get toughness damage reduction, but the fact that confirmed kill works with grenades and melee kills, I just think exhilarating takedown is outclassed personally, but it's a fun node, it's not a bad node. To conserve points for now, I'm only using demolition stockpile. However, I'll come back to this with the tech points. As you saw, we don't need executioner stance. If you take the heavier Helbore and take a little bit more damage in your talent tree, you can affect some breakpoints with executioner stance, but then you're losing out on the mango toughness. So just keep that in consideration. I find that this build will hit the nicest balance of defense and offense capabilities. We go into precision strikes for the weak spot damage, ramping that headshot damage. That's what precision strikes is for both melee and range weapons. Nowhere to go in fully loaded. Now you can go the toughness damage reduction, but after multiplicative returns, it's really 5% damage reduction. After you factor in iron will, let alone exhilarating takedown, I just honestly think I can leverage the stamina better, and it allows me to take triple toughness Curios, but both are good. Just don't worry about keep their heads down. You're one-shotting or two-shotting everything anyway. Kill zone's important for those breakpoints, and is more important than shock trooper, marksman focus, and long-range assassin for maximum damage, and again, those breakpoints. Into the middle, demolition team for grenade generation. Tactical awareness, you'll one-shot pretty much every specialist except for the mutant. Make sure you're on top of them, get your shouts up as much as possible. I always recommend at least one plus 25 toughness node in every build, especially in HAVOC because of the reduced toughness modifiers. On this build, this will leave you with around 150-160 toughness. Now I know rending strikes gets memed on a lot. I also don't think this is a very good talent point. However, this is a niche use case scenario where rending strikes is important for a specific breakpoint, the Reaper. Let me show you something without rending strikes. So if I farm all my damage, my marksman focus just very quickly. A fully charged surgical 15 stack of marksman focus. Did you see that? He's alive with 39 HP, by the way. 39. If I take rending strikes, I now one-shot it. I know it says 4000 DPS, but this is like 6000 HP. As you can see. Without rending strikes, you cannot hit the Reaper one-shot breakpoint. Without unyielding, you cannot hit the Reaper one-shot breakpoint in HAVOC 40. You can absolutely change this for chink in their armor, but it's just the fact that I always have access to. I haven't tested if this also works on melee and grenade. That's the second thing. And honestly, this works for now. If it ain't broke, why fix it? You know what I mean? As you saw, we definitely need this to hit the one-shot Reaper breakpoint, but that's the core build. As long as you have this, you'll hit all those breakpoints that I've shown before. What can you do now? The first thing is to shock trooper your Helbore. If you just want to stay in range stance the entire run, you'll go shock trooper with reciprocity, leaving you one more point to do whatever you want, which at that point I would just recommend Desperado. Alternatively, if you don't want Desperado, you can put it into Serrated Blade. Yes, Serrated Blade does affect the bayonet. As you can see, it applied bleed. Another thing is, yes, Trench Fighter affects the bayonet attack speed. It was about, I don't know, 4 to 6 months ago, they made melee attack speed effect weapon specials. So the power sword charge, the bayonet on the Helbore, these are affected by melee attack speed now. This wasn't always the case for veteran, but sometime in the last half a year, give or take, that change happened. Another strong node is agile engagement. The Helbore is one of the few weapons that can proc this while not actually changing weapon. So if I quickly show you, I do 345 damage. Now I do 370 damage after I've procced my ranged engagement. Now if I proc my melee engagement, a standard shot does 210 damage in the leg. $296 damage in the leg. So agile engagement is definitely something to consider, especially once you start factoring the finesse scalings, crits, headshots, blah blah blah. But 25% extra damage, that's a free perk basically. Now for what I recommend, I take the extra point in Out for Blood, especially if I'm going shredder grenades. I'll tech into Shock Trooper and Reciprocity if I want to lean into heavy Helbore usage. I'll crit, kill, return my ammo, and I'll return more ammo than I'm expending. Now let's say I want a bit more grenade focus. I can chuck 1 point into Grenadier, Serrator Blade, and even Grenade Tinkerer, Trench Fighter. I can chuck it still into Shock Trooper and not worry about Reciprocity and just rely on a slower surgical play. Now onto these tech points that I want to mention. If you're going the Shredder Grenade and you want to use an additional point into your grenades, I would recommend Grenadier because it definitely falls into the more spammier playstyle. You can Armor Bane and Range Brittleness, which will improve your bleed damage. If you're using crack grenades, you definitely want Grenade Tinkerer because at a base they do 3,840 damage. As you saw, Crusher's at 9,750 HP, so without Grenade Tinkerer Superiority Complex or Bring It Down, you will not hit the Crusher one-shot breakpoint on crack grenades in HAVOC 40. If you're going smokes and you still want to use a tech point as well, chuck it into Grenade Tinkerer. The only use case where Grenadier is useful in smokes is if you get lucky when you do a long-range smoke and it twin blasts. They'll spread out and you can cover a little bit more space, like 50% more space. When you chuck it on top of yourself, it's not going to do anything. Smokes and Grenadier have little to no value in my opinion, so don't worry about it. But I know someone will mention in the comments, I just don't think it's worth it. Alternatively, if you want to go more of a backline support sniper, think of like maybe Anna in Overwatch. Chuck res speed in your Curios, leave no one behind, Born Leader and Tunnel Vision. I'm constantly killing elites and specials. I'll constantly be proccing my confirmed kill, my Out for Blood. I'll be sharing all that toughness replenishment, including Catch Your Breath. It will juice up the amount of toughness I'm giving from Voice of Command, and Tunnel Vision will also improve all of that toughness replenishment. But again, these are the recommended options. You'll either go for a Shock Trooper and Reciprocity to ramp your crit, to be very ammo efficient, leave no one behind, Born Leader and Tunnel Vision for more of a support focus. You can take all the way into Agile Engagement if you want a bit more closer range, up close and personal kind of style, and ramp your melee. You can absolutely tech into grenades to pump that side of your build, or tech back into the melee. Another alternative if you don't really want to take field improv, like if you're playing with a very high level coordinated team, you just don't need field improv, you're blitzing through the map in 20-25 minutes. But that means I can go into Trench Fighter, Serrator Blade, and Reciprocity. Let's say I don't want to go Reciprocity, I can still go into a Shock Trooper build and go into Grenadier. So now it's a long range sniper and grenade focus build, spam out grenades when shit hits the fan, whip out your Uncanny or melee weapon, whatever you're taking. You'll still be very efficient with Shock Trooper. There's a lot of good options here, play around, but those are all the recommendations I'm going to give you. In terms of the weapon, Carapace and Flak or Carapace and Maniac with Skull Crusher and Uncanny Strike on the shovel. The shovel will get more value, especially when you're taking shredder grenades because it has a lot of stagger. You can shout, you can use your special and apply Skull Crusher, and honestly it's a pretty good time to kill even in HAVOC 40. So remember, this is a pretty much 10,000 HP crusher. 2 of these crushers is the equivalent of a weakened boss in Auric Maelstrom. Think about that. So just a couple of Uncanny stacks, shout it, get the Skull Crusher going. But like honestly, that's not a bad time to kill for the shovel. Is it impressive? Is it great? No. But if you get a pack of Crushers and Maulers, you got a couple of stacks of Uncanny, you chuck a couple of grenades first, you get your Skull Crusher. Now you're killing that crusher, I can move to another crusher, and I've done like 3,000 damage to all the crushers and maulers. So you can just stagger everything with heavies, or once you get your skull crusher, the light attacks do a very considerable amount of damage, and that's where most of your damage is going to be. When you get all the gribblies, heavy spam. They won't be able to do anything. Now, alternative melees, because again, a Kriegsman, assuming you're going any type of Kriegsman, you can be an officer, a commander, a part of an engineer team, or just a general Kriegs infantryman, but every Kriegsman also has a knife. If you're going to go for the knife, I recommend Mercy Killer and taking Serrated Blade. In the talent tree, dump mobility, carapace, and unyielding. Now, the dueling sword, funnily enough, the Deathkorpsofkrieg are actually one of the more well-known regiments to actually use the dueling sword, even though it's more of a ceremonial piece for their officers. When they actually want to kill something, that's when they'll pull out their power saber or power sword. But anywho's, carapace maniac, carapace unyielding. If you're going reciprocity, take riposte as well to ramp your crit chance. If you're not going for the reciprocity in your build, swap it out for thrust. Power Falcon. Now, I would just dump mobility, but I want to quickly talk about Decapitator, because on paper, this looks like an amazing blessing, but thank you for people in my community. You know who you are, I appreciate you. They just asked me the question, and I said, yeah, I think Decapitator is pretty good, but it's not something I tested. There is a hidden condition of Decapitator that makes this blessing really fucking shit. It is that the enemy must be at 100% HP at time of one shot to proc Decapitator. So what am I actually talking about? So let's say I'm gonna go one shot this guy. See, I didn't get my Decapitator. Because he had already taken damage previously, I got no stack. So again, I'll one shot him. You'll see my Decapitator at the bottom. But let's say the Inferno Staff Psyker puts one stack of Soul Blaze on this guy. He's got 3/4 HP. We already know I'll one shot him with this attack, but I got no Decapitator. I hope that shows what I'm explaining. And the problem is, there is a lot of AoE in this game. You've got grenades, you've got Ogryns, you've got Flamers, you've got Inferno Staff, you've got Psykers perilously combusting, you've got Arbitrated Dog and Shock Binds. Very, very rarely is an enemy actually at 100% HP. And if they are not, if they lose a single HP of damage, you can no longer proc Decapitator on them. So you'll find Decapitator is very rarely proccing and it's just a dead blessing. Again, because there's two conditions. One is that you actually have to one-shot, so you have to do enough damage for the enemy HP threshold. And two, the enemy must be at 100% HP. If they remove that second condition of the enemy must being at 100% HP, and it only took into consideration the damage versus HP threshold, Decapitator would be best in slot. But until then, it's actually a trash and bait blessing. It's a noob trap. Please trust me, this blessing Decapitator is a noob trap. For that reason, energy leakage is best in slot, 20% strength, cleave, stagger, damage, need I say more. Cranial grounding is going to give you the best single target breakpoints and just increase your heat or reduce your heat generation so you can stay in an energized state longer. The alternative is Wrath if you want better horde clearing. Both are good. All three blessings are what you're going to be working with. Everything else is just a tier below. Kriegers also have a trench mace. Now we don't have a trench mace, but fuck it, the Shockmore's close enough. Dump mobility, Flak Carapace or Flak Maniac, Carapace and Flak or Carapace and Maniac with Opportunist and Skull Crusher. I highly recommend Serrated Blade on weapons like the Shockmore and the Shovel and Trench Fighter if you can fit it in your build and you know how to be efficient with your ammo. It will very much shore up their single target TTK. And last but not least, Carapace and Maniac or Carapace and Unyielding Sunder Power Sword to cover all bases. Take this with Serrated Blade, it can deal with Carapace, it can deal with mixed hordes, it can deal with hordes, it can deal with single target, it can deal with bosses. This would be my recommendation for an optimized point of view. I personally take Carapace and Unyielding, but if you want better Rager TTK, I honestly think Maniac is a good shout in HAVOC now. And it's more about improving the cleave from Sunder as opposed to the one enemy that you're focused on. Last but not least is the Curios. I recommend 3 toughness Curios if you're using the Power Sword, Power Falcon, Shovel or Shockmaw, weapons that have a higher base stamina. If you're using something like the Knife or Dueling Sword, I recommend taking a +3 stamina, Blessing Curio instead. For perks, they're all the same, 3 toughness, 3 stamina regen, and 3 combat ability regeneration. Depending on your preference, you can also replace toughness or stamina regen for revive speed, especially if you're taking Leave No One Behind in your build and you're going for that Anna playstyle with Born Leader and Leave No One Behind. I personally trade the 5% toughness because I like my stamina, and again I prioritize the stamina regeneration delay to get Psycho level stamina. And even if you're using something like the Knife 6 for example, now you can do a lot of push attacks, and that's like a sleeper pick for the Krieg build. Knife and Helbore is really good. But anywho's, from like a generalist perspective, this will be the final variant that I'm going to recommend. Change your Curios from 5% toughness to revive speed, both toughness regen, any choice of grenade, they're all good, just take your pick. You don't have to worry about Trench Fighter. Serrated Blade is more important with more weapons than Trench Fighter for Veteran I find in HAVOC. Now, Field Improv over Trench Fighter is what I'm going to recommend for most people. If you think you can leverage the attack speed over the course of a run over many more games, and especially when you watch your own replays, you'll notice that you feel when Field Improv saves you, and you remember that. But you tend to forget how many times Field Improv actually would have changed nothing. And that's something you won't understand until you watch a lot of your own gameplays. Like, I have 3 terabytes of veteran gameplay on my external hard drive. I'm just a nerd for this shit because I want to give you the best builds. Field Improv is good, and you'll remember when it saves you, but you tend to forget the amount of times where Trench Fighter would have just had more value. So just think about that in your build. Again, any choice of extra grenade points, Grenadier for frags, Grenade Tinkerer for cracks and smokes, or you can take all 3 if you're going frags or cracks. And just because of how I like playing personally, I like being a team player. I do have my moments where I just want to be selfish, don't get me wrong, but Leave No One Behind, Born Leader, I find it just adds a lot of consistency to your win rate. Need I say more? If teammates aren't going down, or they're getting up very quickly and not losing tempo, less likely to get overwhelmed, and as you can see, I didn't need the extra damage for anything else. But I also do very much like reciprocity, being able to get those snipes out faster. If you've got 3 to 5 reciprocity stacks, you can delay your surgical time by 0.3 to 0.9 seconds, and it's a DPS increase. Now typically crit chance is a burst profile damage increase, but because the faster we get crits, we can shoot faster, it's actually a DPS increase on this specific build. Anyways, I hope that explained everything. Catch you in the next video, God bless. 07.